and welcome to the Flexitarian Feast. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Eliz, and we are two home cooks trying to eat more plants. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're talking all about soups and stews.
Oh. Go ahead. You say it.
If you're wondering who won the giveaway from the last episode, check the Instagram or website to see if you won.
It's really exciting.
Super exciting.
I really love soups and stews, so I'm so pumped that we're doing this episode. I used to have a whole blog that was based around soup. It was called Mostly Soup. So
I loved it.
All soup, but mostly soup.
That was such a great blog.
It was really fun. It's been kind of defunct. Defunct? Is that the right word? It's been out of commission for quite a while, but yeah, I love soup.
I have to say that I am kind of soup neutral. I don't love soup, but I don't hate soup. I don't make a ton of soup because my kids don't really like soup.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, when I make soup, what I'll do is they don't like food to be mixed up. They don't like it to be hot. So soup is kind of like one of the worst things.
Yeah.
But what I do is I take all the components of the soup and I'll serve it like on a plate.
That's smart.
So I'll take like if there's chicken, I'll put the chicken out or the veggies or whatever.
And then
that'll
you have
usually,
if you have like a flavorful broth, they could like dunk it in there.
Yeah. And like tonight I made grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. And so I gave them like a tiny little dish of tomato soup to dunk their grilled cheese in.
Yeah, that's fun.
So
that's a good way to do it. I know my sister said that too, that her kids don't like soup. So she never makes it either.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what's
wrong with them. What's wrong with them? Anyways, I'm hoping that you can give me some soup inspiration.
Oh, I hope so too.
I guess, so I would guess that the basis of a good soup is good stock.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the starting point for any soup, really, is you got to have some kind of broth or stock. One thing I was going to talk about is the difference between broth and stock, which I'm not super clear on. I feel like the only reason it makes it stock versus broth is if you use bones, like from an animal.
Right, that's what I thought too.
So I just make veggie broth. Since I don't cook meat, I really rarely have like chicken bones hanging around. So I just do veggie broth, and I collect all my scraps throughout the weeks in a freezer bag in the freezer. Like I keep the ends of fennel and the green parts of leeks and the end, the root, not the root, but the stems. The stems of the mushrooms. Gosh, I don't know why I couldn't.
Oh, you put mushrooms in your veggie stock too?
Yep, anything that I have, like corn cobs.
Ooh.
So then once I have like a full bag in the freezer, I actually just made some tonight. I didn't have a full bag, but I just like kind of had some extra stuff because I had just stocked up at the store. So I just put in like a few carrots, a few celery sticks, like an onion or two quartered, a few garlic cloves, peppercorns, bay leaves, if you have some like herbs in your fridge that need to get used up, just throw them in. I had parsley, so I put that in there. And I had some like little pieces of fennel. So then you just fill it up with water, like up to the max line in the Instant Pot. Did I say that? The Instant Pot?
You
know me.
Of course you make it.
Of course I made it in the Instant
Everything
Pot.
goes in the Instant Pot.
So it's just, I think the recipe that I use is 15 minutes, but I do it for 20, so it's just a little bit richer.
Yeah.
Let it come down from pressure naturally, and then strain it, and it makes like 3 or more quarts.
Oh, nice.
And I just put them straight into the freezer, like once they've cooled off a little bit. So,
perfect.
You can also do the exact same thing with chicken bones. Like if you have a carcass from a rotisserie chicken or chicken wings or any bones from a chicken, you can just throw those in there with the same vegetables and make chicken stock. So
yeah, I used to make chicken stock a lot. Same thing when I would roast a chicken or have a rotisserie chicken. Yeah. And it's really good.
It is good.
And you get like all of the collagen from the bones. And so it's kind of jiggly when it cools. Yeah. And it tastes really delicious.
I know my sister, she'll just drink that for lunch. Like add some tofu or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that's
really
for lunch.
Good. But once I had kids, I just didn't have the time to do it
it
anymore.
In the Instant Pot.
I know.
I think like so.
I
know they should hire me.
They should sponsor you.
So the veggie broth I do for 20 minutes. I think for chicken, an hour is all you need to do. And you could probably even do a little bit less.
Yeah, I know. It's not hard.
It doesn't take long. But if you don't really make soup,
I don't make a ton of soup,
then you don't really need it.
Yeah, I don't. I usually buy chicken stock. I actually buy it at Costco. They're really good, like organic chicken.
Oh, that's good.
Bone broth. or stock.
Yeah,
I
there's
forget
all
what it's
kinds
called.
of like bone broth
But it
in the stores
has
too.
a lot of protein in it. So I think it does have the bone
Probably,
broth stuff in it or whatever. But that lasts me for like a 6-pack of that lasts me a really long time.
Yeah.
But I always try to buy low sodium if I'm buying chicken stock or veggie stock, because it's easy to add more salt, but hard to take it away.
Absolutely. Same thing. I never add salt to the broth that I make. But I like having it too I'll cook sometimes like quinoa with it or any other grains. It just adds a little extra flavor.
Yeah.
So I like having it on hand just because I didn't really do it during the summer because I don't know. I don't really cook soup in the summer.
Yeah.
So my vegetable scrap bag is mainly like a fall, winter thing that I do.
All the onions and the root vegetables are really good for it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
I sometimes buy boxed broth too, like if I'm in a rush or I know I don't have stuff in the freezer, but I want to like make soup or, I think we might have mentioned this last time, that miso ginger stuff from TJ's.
Yeah.
That stuff's good.
That broth from Trader Joe's. Yeah, it's really good.
So I don't try many of the other like box soups. Like I know there's all kinds like butternut squash soups and stuff like that. Like I think Amy's has a bunch.
I used to buy those, but I haven't bought them in a long time.
Yeah. Only like kind of pre-made soup I ever buy is canned chili sometimes.
I buy there's a brand called Nona Lim.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
They're frozen. I get them at Whole Foods, and they're frozen in like a coffee cup, a plastic coffee cup.
Oh,
so you microwave it, and then you can drink it from the coffee cup.
Smart.
Anyways, they have like a pho broth that's really good, and they have a like a Thai coconut lime.
Is it just broth or does it have other stuff in it?
It's just broth. But the coconut one is creamy because it has coconut milk and broth. They're just liquid.
Interesting.
And when I'm sick, that's like my treat I get myself if I'm sick.
Ooh, yeah.
Because it's like really
nice.
good. And I don't have to share it. But I do buy pho broth sometimes too.
Yeah. I've never bought that, but I should because
it just starts with the spices that you would get in pho.
So it just makes it a little easier. You don't have to like do all of it from scratch.
Yeah. Do you usually make chunky soups and stews, or do you usually blend them up?
Actually, yes. I'm not a big fan of blended soups.
Yeah, me neither.
I always like the flavors, and they're mainly all made out of vegetables, but I just don't know, I get bored with the texture. So I always try to, if I'm blending up a soup, I don't blend it all the way so that there's still some chunks of vegetables in there, because I just like to have the different textures. I get bored.
That makes sense.
But I think it's good for like you said, dunking grilled cheese or something like that. But I'll get a cup of soup and a sandwich, but I'll never get like a whole bowl of a soup that's blended.
Yeah, I don't really like blended soup that much either.
Yeah, even like I have this broccoli cheese soup that I make, and I leave it pretty chunky because I just like the broccoli chunks. I like to taste the broccoli.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, I mentioned this before, but that podcast, The Lazy Genius, she has a really great Instagram story about making tomato soup.
Oh, yeah, you did mention that.
And I actually made it again tonight. You just cook up a carrot or a couple carrots and onion and olive oil and butter together until they're soft, and then you add broth, blend it up, and then you add a can of plain tomato sauce and then salt and pepper.
That's so smart. I love that.
It tastes just like the Campbell's soup. So I feel like with blended soups, I really only want tomato soup, and I kind of want it to taste like Campbell's or like nostalgic soup.
Right. And if you did want to spice that up, it wouldn't be that hard to do. Like you could easily add like curry or something.
Oh, exactly.
And it would change the flavor. Or chili powder.
That would be a great base for any
and then
soup.
you could add beans or something, and it would be a totally different thing.
Totally. I really like chili.
Oh,
Does that count as soup?
I love chili. That totally counts. I think it's more of a stew though, right? Because it's thicker.
Yeah, it is thicker.
Soups can be chunky or blended, but stews are like thick, less liquid.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're more.
That's how I think of it anyway.
I make a version of Ina Garden's chicken chili a lot. The recipe makes an enormous amount, so I will portion it out and freeze it. I mean, you definitely could leave the chicken out too.
Yeah.
If you want, or substitute with
soy curls. Yeah.
But this recipe, it's basically soup it has a ton of bell peppers and onions, and then canned tomatoes, and then cooked chicken, and then all the toppings. I mean, it's all about the toppings.
I love toppings.
Cheese, scallions,
that's another
jalapenos,
thing. Even
chips.
with any blended soup, if there's some kind of toppings, I might be able to get into it.
Yeah,
depending on the soup.
Oh, totally.
But yeah, that's another thing. Like even that soup, if you took out like the I looked at the recipe, and if you took out like the cumin and chili powder, or chili powder and I think that's what it was, cumin and chili powder, and just put in like garam masala and
Right.
instead of chicken you use tofu, it'd be like a completely different thing.
Totally.
But you wouldn't have to change anything else and it would still be super good.
No, because the base is the same. I mean, you like cook an onion,
Right.
you cook some garlic,
and
you add some
soups
vegetables.
start that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That recipe, by the way, we'll link it in the show notes, but if you're going to make it, it's very good. I make it all the time. It is so extra because she has you like roast bone in skin on chicken breasts.
That's too much.
And then it's like, get out your food processor and buy canned whole tomatoes and then food process them. And I'm like, no, just buy crushed tomatoes or use your hand.
Squish them with your hand. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
So Ina Garten, I think her recipes are really good, but they are not weeknight recipes.
Yeah, you kind of have to like read it and reassess.
Yeah. But something I do, and also I mentioned the chicken, cooking the chicken in the oven. But when I do make a lot of chicken soup. I don't cook a ton of chicken, but I do usually make chicken soups and stews. And when I do that, I always cook it in the Instant Pot.
Yeah.
You'd be so proud of me.
I am proud of you.
But when you're cooking a soup with chicken in it, you want to add the chicken at the very end. I find then you're not cooking the chicken in the broth.
Yeah, you want to like
too tough.
cook it at first, take it out of the pan, and then put it back in at the end.
So if you just put it in the Instant Pot and, cook it however
or
long
the
it
oven.
is, or the oven, and then just shred it. You could even do that the day before or earlier in the day, keep it in the fridge, and then just, heat it up in the soup while you're making it.
Absolutely. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think I should maybe give a little template of how to make soup.
Yeah.
So
give us the primer on how to make a basic soup.
Yeah. So like if you're wanting to eat soup, it's also a really good thing to take for lunch for work. Like if you work in an office, like my office, I don't have a kitchen. I only have a microwave.
Oh, so soup is perfect.
Yeah. There's a tiny little refrigerator, but the microwave is also probably like 25 years old. So it's slow. So whenever I take something frozen, it takes like an hour to heat it up. So having something that's already made, I don't have to like wait forever. Also, I can't plug in my space heater when my microwave is running because it blows a fuse. Anyway, that's like a whole other problem. But so anyway, soup's a great thing to take for lunch, and it's easy to portion out into like a one person meal. You don't have to you can make a ton of it and you keep it in the freezer, or you can portion it out into like individual portions and freeze those. Anyway, so if you want to start making soup, but you don't know where to start, let me just try to talk you through it.
Great.
I was really scared to make soup at first too, because it just seemed like every time I had soup at a restaurant, it was so good and I didn't understand how to do it. Like it just seemed complicated. But
it does seem complicated.
It does, because it seems like there's a lot of stuff in there and like everything's cooked perfectly.
Well, and I've made a lot of bad soups.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. I think soup is a really good way to like kind of learn what flavors go together and what vegetables work together, and just it's really fun to play around with. So, and this soup was actually one of the first things I really learned how to cook on my own and just wing it. I still follow recipes, but I think it's kind of fun to just be like, what do I have?
You feel like you could go into your kitchen right now and make a soup.
I mean, I did that tonight for dinner.
Oh, well, there you go.
But yeah, so let's just kind of go through it. Okay, so the main thing, easy soup, first thing you want to do is dice up an onion, a carrot, maybe 2, celery stick or 2. Dice those up, throw them in a pot. That's called mirepoix.
Yeah, it is.
So you put that in the pot with some olive oil or butter or both, whatever you have, coconut oil, any oil you have. Saute them up for a little while. You also want to add in any seasonings at that point so the vegetables can kind of soak them up. So let's, for example, use garlic, thyme, and oregano.
I love thyme and oregano.
Me too. It's a little bit of salt and pepper. Not too much, because you're going to probably keep salting for every stage. So you just kind of let that cook till everything smells good and your veggies get soft. Then you can add in some other veggies, like maybe you want to add in some mushrooms and maybe a potato. So dice them up, throw them in the pot, let them cook. Not till they're totally cooked, just get a little of the seasoning picked up.
So those are the veggies that need longer to cook.
A little bit longer to cook, yeah. So then maybe the next step you're going to do is add in liquid. So you can use any kind of liquid you can think of. Broth is the obvious choice, but you can also use tomatoes, like cans of tomatoes plus the juices.
Yeah, I do that.
Coconut milk. You could also probably use like soy milk if you want something creamy.
I see a lot of recipes that you'll use a can of coconut milk and then fill up the can with water and then just add the can of water so it thins it out.
Some recipes are so like flavorful you can just do it with water. It really kind of, if you're following a recipe, follow the recipe. But if you're just trying to wing it, I would say to use broth.
Yeah, I think that's most...
Because I've made soup with just water and it didn't work out very well. But when I was trying to wing it. But if the recipe says to do that, do that. That's what I would
Do people
suggest.
still get like bouillon?
I don't know.
cubes
I
or-
actually have some like vegan chicken flavored bouillon. that I
is it
use.
good?
I think it's pretty good. I don't know how. Like, I never really just like taste it on its own. I mainly use it with, I've used it to flavor soy curls and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
I haven't really used it for soup, but I don't know. I guess bouillon's probably still a thing.
I mean, that's an easy thing to keep around too because it's not doesn't take up much
Exactly.
space in
Doesn't
your
take up
pantry
space.
if you have a small
You can
apartment
also
or something.
it's good to have that for like risotto.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I know. I've never been like a bouillon person.
Me neither, but
Yeah.
people are. Okay,
Yeah,
keep going.
Okay, so you add in the liquid, and then you want to bring it up to a simmer. And then at that point, you can, once it's been simmering for a little while, and like maybe if you used potatoes, they're going to take the longest. So once they're like almost done, then you can add in some like quick cooking veggies like frozen peas or corn or like thinly sliced zucchini. So also add a little more salt like at every stage and taste it as you go.
Yeah, that's key to always taste as you go.
And then also maybe throw in some beans. Dice up some
Maybe
tofu.
throw in some beans.
Bulk it up. Maybe it's too thin. Add more stuff. Maybe it's too thick. Add more liquid.
Yeah, you just kind of mess around. Yeah, it's the way you like
until
it.
It's like you're like, whoa, I made too much soup.
And you're like, oh, I gotta freeze it.
Maybe that's just me. Oh, so then you just like simmer it all together, and then once all the vegetables are cooked and the broth tastes good, and one trick is if it's tasting kind of bland and you don't really know what to do to fix it, soy sauce is a good way to bump up flavor.
Oh yeah,
because it has like an umami thing and it's salty, so you just need a little of it. Also, fish sauce works in the same way.
Right, I love fish sauce.
You might think fish sauce is weird, but it doesn't taste super fishy when you just use a little bit.
Yeah,
of it
just has that like umami flavor.
Yeah, so those are both good ways to like kind of, if you're like something's missing but I don't know what it is, add a little soy sauce or add a little fish sauce. So that's pretty much it. And then, if you want, you could throw in some kale or other greens at the end. Serve it up. There you go. You made a pot of soup.
And then put your toppings on.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget the toppings.
Don't forget the toppings. Maybe a little cracked pepper.
Yes. What else? Cheese.
Roasted garbanzos.
Yeah. Oh, another thing is you can also add rice or pasta when you add the liquid, but you just might have to have more liquid because it will soak it all up. Like any grains or rice.
You could add already cooked pasta or rice at the end.
Exactly. So, yeah. And if you have meat, you want to, not, like we said earlier, cook it first, then put it back in at the end.
Yeah.
And if you're cooking the meat in the broth, like if you're not adding a lot of other stuff and it's just going to cook in the broth, that's fine. It's like poaching chicken. Right. But you don't want to taste the broth until the chicken is cooked.
Right.
Because then you might get
You don't want any raw meat here.
You don't want to get sick.
No. I was just thinking about a soup that I used to make called stracciatella soup. Ooh. Which is an old recipe from Shutterbean. It's I so like the easy. Name. I know, stracciatella. I think fancy. Maybe I'm not saying that right.
I feel like you're saying it right.
But anyways, you just heat up some broth, any kind you want. You beat it some eggs in a bowl, and then you stir the eggs into the hot broth so they cook. And then you just throw in like a ton of raw baby spinach. And then once it's wilted, you serve it with Parmesan cheese. It's so good.
It sounds so easy and so comforting.
Exactly. And if you're like, oh, I bought a box of spinach again
What do I do with it?
What do I do with it? That's like a good way to do it.
Yeah, that's smart.
It's very nutritious and good.
It also kind of reminds me of, there's a Greek soup that's like, it's called, oh gosh, I'm definitely going to butcher this one. I think you pronounce it avgolamono.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's really good. It's like
it sounds
chicken,
so good. I've never
eggs,
had
lemon, dill. I think it has dill, but it's very similar. You add the eggs in so they kind of scramble in there.
I love the texture of egg and soup. Like hot and sour soup is another one. Did you ever make that?
No, I have never made it. There's a similar recipe I made, but it didn't have eggs. But it was kind of it wasn't what I was looking for because I wanted like that hot and sour soup from a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was a recipe from the kitchen, but I've never made the actual real hot and sour soup. Have you made it before?
Well, I made a version from Moosewood cookbook. Have you ever looked at that cookbook before?
I never have. I've heard of it a lot.
It's classic. You should borrow it sometime. It's all handwritten, which is kind of
that's
fun.
That's very cute. Yeah. I like that.
But it's like an old cookbook, so it definitely feels, some of the recipes feel dated. Mm-hmm. So this is not like an authentic hot and sour soup, but I think it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I should try that. It sounds really good. I love hot and sour. I've always loved ordering it at Chinese restaurants.
I love hot and sour soup so much.
It's just such an interesting flavor that you don't get anywhere else.
No.
You know what I mean? Like that, it's like, it is. It's
the vinegar. It's like vinegar. It's so good.
Those mushrooms. Ugh, I love it.
Well, we should talk about my favorite part of the soup. We kind of have alluded to this.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what is being served on the side.
Well, sometimes for me, making soup is just an excuse to buy a giant loaf of bread. I mean, it's true. Like, you can put butter on bread, dunk it in anything, and it's going to be
delicious.
Good.
I mean, it's going to be good.
Yeah. So also, what else? Biscuits.
Oh, Andrea Bemis from Dishing Up the Dirt just posted spiced butternut squash biscuits.
Yes.
Did you see that?
I did see that, and it looks so good.
I'm going to maybe try to make it this weekend.
That'd be good for breakfast.
I was thinking about making it for breakfast.
Yeah. What else?
Cornbread is really good.
Oh, yes, cornbread. Well, we already mention that's, I basically always make cornbred with chili.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
used
like-
to. I think we've talked about this before. I
Yeah,
don't
I
make it
think so
anymore
too.
because it's too messy
Oh, yeah,
with the
it's too
kids.
messy.
It's like it's a disaster. But I do like it.
Yeah, what else?
I was just reading about some cookbook author I follow on Instagram was talking about roasted chickpeas on top of soup.
Yeah,
as
I
a
like
topping.
that idea because it's kind of like croutons, which is another good one.
Right, exactly.
Or crackers. Like, have you ever had clam chowder without oyster crackers?
No.
It's like, why would you?
Yeah.
Or even just crunched up saltines.
Saltines, yeah. Or I do quesadillas with soup a lot.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, my kids don't really like soup. They do like quesadillas, and so
Anytime you
everyone's
can dunk.
happy with a quesadilla.
Yeah, I feel like dunking is good. Same thing with grilled cheese or any other kind of like
Grilled cheese,
pressed sandwich. Also crunched
Or
up
you could
chips.
just do cheese and crackers.
Yeah, cheese and crackers.
Crunchy chips.
Um,
So my dad has this recipe for tortilla soup. He actually, like a long time ago, before I was born, had it published in Sunset Magazine. They used to publish like a recipe from the readers.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that so funny?
That is funny.
Anyways,
They don't do that anymore, huh?
No, I don't think they do.
Huh.
But anyways, it's a basic, tortilla soup with chicken and onion and carrot and celery. No celery.
Probably
Onion,
not celery. Probably has
tomatoes.
maybe bell pepper.
I don't think it has bell
No.
peppers. But what's interesting about it is you get fried tortilla or baked tortillas, cut them into strips, put that at the bottom of your bowl, and then you dump a bunch of shredded cheese on top of the tortilla strips.
Man.
Then you put the hot soup on top. So when you're scooping like a bite of the soup, it is like stringy and melted. It's so
That
good.
sounds so good. I love that.
Yeah, and it's just like a different way to do a topping. You just do it on the bottom.
That actually reminded me, that cookbook that I borrowed from you, there has a recipe in there for broccoli soup that you top it with macaroni and cheese. Or like
What?
cheesy noodles. And I was like,
That's
yes,
wild.
that is the kind of topping that I'm all about with a blended up soup. Like, I would never think of putting macaroni and cheese on top of a soup, but like the soup is
I don't know.
basically
I
just,
don't know if I can get behind that.
I don't know. I didn't try it, but I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It is interesting. It is definitely interesting. I mean, you have also talked about how you will put leftover soup on a baked potato.
It's true. Like, especially the thicker, like stewy things or
Yeah.
things that kind of like, as it sits in the fridge, it thickens up. Like if you have grains in there, it will soak up liquid the longer
Yeah.
it sits. And those kind of things, I love putting them on a baked potato or a sweet potato. Just kind of gives it a new life and makes it into something different. If you're kind of bored with it, you're like, oh, I'm tired of eating this. But if you put it with something different.
I mean, that makes sense if you think about like chili fries.
Right.
It's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, or like even nachos, you can do that. Like chili, put your leftover chili on top. Like make nachos.
Why couldn't you do that?
You could.
Oh my
totally.
gosh, that's so smart. You could
Or like
freeze
Frito pie.
chili into smaller portions for nacho or taco.
Yeah, or like
fillings.
Frito pie. That's what that is.
Oh yeah, Frito pie.
It's just chili on top of chips with all the toppings.
So good.
So good.
It's all about the toppings.
Yep, it really is. I really love bread too, so it's a big reason to make soup.
All right, now it's time for our recent feast segment where we each talk about a delicious meal that we have made recently. Michelle, what do you have for us today?
Well, it's actually a soup. I made a vegan jackfruit pozole soup.
that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a red one, which I always think of pozole as being green.
I always make green pozole too.
Tomatillos and stuff, but I made a red one. It was super easy and it was really, really good. I haven't cooked a lot with jackfruit, so I figured this would be a good experiment.
So tell us about the jackfruit. Is it in a can? Is it frozen?
Yes, it's in a can. So if you want to buy jackfruit, the main way I think people use jackfruit is to mimic pulled pork or pulled chicken.
Yeah, that's how I've heard about
Because it kind of shreds, and I've had it at restaurants and it's really good. But I haven't had a lot of success cooking it at home. I haven't tried it a lot either. But we bought one that was pre-seasoned and I hated it, So if you want to buy jackfruit, I would suggest try to find Asian markets will have it. But I think I've also gotten it at Whole Foods or like the Co-op. It's in a can. And if there's like a Asian section at your grocery store or like the international section, it'll be in that section. It looks like a can of kind of like tomatoes, I guess, but it's the bigger can, like the 20, 25, 30 ounce can. There's usually two kinds. There's in brine or syrup. Get the brine kind because if you get the syrup kind, it's going to be super sweet and disgusting.
What is that one used for?
I have no idea. Every recipe I've seen with jackfruit is like, make sure you don't get the syrup kind. So I'm assuming you could use it for dessert or something. Yeah. It's just sweet. Maybe like when you buy those cocktail fruit things. Oh, it's probably like similar to that. I don't know. I've never tried it. So get the brine one. So when you get it home, you have to like drain it and rinse it really well because it has like, it kind of actually, to me, it reminds me of like canned artichoke hearts. It has like a very,
like astringent kind of?
Kind of, yeah. It's weird. It smells kind of funky and you're like, I don't know about this.
You're really talking up this pozole.
Well, I mean, the pozole was really good, but I'm just trying to be honest about jackfruit. I really haven't used it a lot, so I'm really skeptical about it. But this recipe was really, really good. So what this recipe has you do is soak a variety of dried chilies in hot water until they're softened. And then you just blend them up with garlic and onion. Set it aside. Then you get your jackfruit prepped. So you rinse and drain the jackfruit. And they're kind of like in these chunks. And I picture it like a pineapple. So the chunks, the center of each chunk is kind of like hard. And you kind of cut that out. Oh, okay. Like the core of it. So the ones that I had were like triangular shaped. So it was really easy to just like cut out the little triangle part. And then you fry them in a pan until they're browned on all sides, basically. Then you toss the chili sauce in with them and just let it simmer. So they kind of break down into those shreds. So the thing that I thought I should do differently with this recipe if I make it again, or if I make any kind of jackfruit thing again, would be to cook them in the oven instead of on the stovetop, because I think they would have just gotten browner and like more caramelized than they did on the stove. Maybe I'm just too impatient, which is probably what it is, but I'm going to do it in the oven next time. I'm going to try to make carnitas, actually.
That sounds delicious.
But yeah, so once they are kind of browned, you put the chili sauce in, let it chill. Haha, chili, chill. Sorry, I'm such a nerd. So you just kind of let that bubble away, let the jackfruit break down. It's not going to burn or anything. Just like let it simmer until it looks like pulled pork to you. So while that's happening, I got some hominy and I just kind of heated it up in broth. I also added in pinto beans that I had already made. And I also added in some mushrooms. I chopped up some mushrooms and I added them into the jackfruit chili thing so they would soak up the seasonings from that. And then once like the jackfruit situation it looks good to you, just combine it all into the bigger pot. And that's pretty much it. Add salt and top it up.
Yum.
So yeah, for toppings with this, we had shredded cabbage, sliced radishes, diced onions, crunched up tortilla chips. And I also bought cilantro microgreens, which I've never seen before in the store.
Where did you find those? That sounds
perfect. They were
perfect.
at the Safeway over here.
Oh, nice.
Ainsworth. I just was like, what is this? And so I bought, they were like 5 times the cost of regular cilantro. But I was like, I have to try this. They were so interesting because they're very cute.
I'm sure they would look so cute on a bowl.
They were so cute. They were very adorable. And they tasted really good. It was like this really like lighter flavor. It wasn't as intense as cilantro. Like it had the cilantro flavor, but it wasn't like, it didn't have as much of the smell. I don't know. It was just like lighter. I know what you mean. Huh. So I really, really, really loved those.
That's cool. I'm going to look out for those.
Yeah, and it was kind of spicy, but I really, really liked this soup. And we had people over for dinner that night, so they really liked it too. So it worked out well.
Perfect.
And it made a ton. I still have some in my freezer.
Well, that's excellent. You have it for another rainy day.
Yes, so I would highly recommend it, and I will put that recipe in the show notes.
Yes, please do. That sounds good.
What about you? What have you made lately?
Well, I made a very delicious cornbread that I think would have gone great with your pozole.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
The recipe is called cornbread with cheddar, feta, and jalapeno, and it's from Ottolenghi Simple. And it's my first Ottolenghi recipe I've ever made.
Oh, I really love his recipes.
It's from the Simple Cookbook, but I don't know if his recipes are really that simple.
I don't know. I feel like
I mean, there's a lot of steps. There's like ingredients that are unusual, which is fun. This recipe really was not that unusual. I mean, you basically start by toasting corn in a cast iron pan until it's charred. You set it aside and then you just it's a basic cornbread batter, but you add sour cream, green onion, cilantro, jalapeno, and the corn. But then the cool part is you top the batter with feta, shredded cheddar, another jalapeno like sliced into circles, and then red onion, and then you just bake it up like that.
That sounds amazing.
It was so good.
What is a basic cornbread batter? Is it mainly cornmeal or is there flour too?
It has both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've made it a couple times.
And it usually has like a tiny bit of sugar.
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember if this recipe did or not. I don't think it did.
It sounds really savory, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But usually it does have a tiny bit just to balance it all out. But it is made with flour. And I made it with, I swapped in gluten-free flour. It was fine. It was only a cup of flour. And then maybe like a cup and a little bit more of, he calls for quick cooking polenta, but that's just cornmeal.
It's just cornmeal. And then you used frozen corn, I'm assuming?
I did use frozen corn, but it called for fresh corn. But it was like, this is what I thought in the recipe. At Trader Joe's, they have charred frozen corn.
Yes, I love that.
You
fire
could just use
corn.
that and skip the charring the corn step. That would make it a lot easier.
Absolutely. They have that at Whole Foods too.
Oh, they do?
Fire roasted corn, yep.
I'm going to look for that.
They do.
Yeah, I usually add frozen corn to cornbread.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Just
I've also
like
added like green onions or...
You can basically add whatever you want to cornbread.
Yeah, it always works
Cheese,
out. Green chilies.
A can of green chilies, exactly. But what was interesting about this one is that the topping was really cool.
Yeah, it looked really pretty. You posted a photo of it.
I did post a photo.
Okay, well, if you have soup questions, let us know. Thanks for joining us at the Flexitarian Feast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening. Next week, we're going to be interviewing a special guest, so you won't want to miss that.
You can find us online at theflexitarianfeast.com or on Instagram at theflexitarianfeast. A huge thank you to our producer, Tiki Sound. I'm Eliz.
And I'm Michelle, and we'll see you next time. Until then, eat lots of plants.